It's a joy for me to come to your school. I've always driven past your school in the past, and I am glad today that I've come to join with you, and I have come with a team from Timazi, who I will be introducing at the break time as we go into our second session. I want to truly apologize because what I had prepared was actually on a PowerPoint. So you would have really enjoyed looking at different images and captions. But unfortunately, I think I forgot to mention that to Mwalimu. So anyway, I'm the only one who will be looking at them. So poleni sana. That's why I'm actually using this laptop. Otherwise, I would have come with notes. Secondly is to say that Timazi stands for plumb line. It's a Swahili word for plumb line. And I'm not so sure whether one of our banners has the plumb line. Yes, there's this one over here, though it's tilted. Maybe it should have faced the students. And we began Timazi 14 years ago. And our desire when we began Timazi was to come and encourage the Christian student in high school. Number one, to give you stories, for you to hear what God is doing in other schools through students who are hungry for God and who are walking righteously and who have made a decision to follow Jesus Christ. Secondly, was to encourage you in your path, because sometimes you're alone in the school making a stand for God and you feel alone, you feel isolated. So we come and encourage you and let you know that you're not alone. Even though majority of the classmates and everybody else may laugh at you, you are not alone. We are many. And thirdly, is to also hear from your story, so that your own story of faith would be an encouragement to another student in another school. And number four, we also desired that indeed the things we have taught over the years, some of the things we have learned from other people, speakers, and teachers of different schools, we would publish those things and put them together in a magazine-like publication, and we would cover, you can lower the volume. And you can have an opportunity to read one topic at a time. So if you want to think about, say, you want to talk about sex and you want to learn about it exhaustively, we have an issue we have covered on that. If you want to learn about dating, we have a whole issue, 40 pages, cover to cover, just talking about that. If you want to talk about how you're struggling with parents who have separated, we have covered that. We have covered a total of 36 different topics coming to you as a high school student, bringing clarity to your mind and holding your life up to the plumb line of God's word. Isn't that amazing? And so we will continue to come, and we desire that indeed we would hear from you, and so that Timazi can serve you effectively where you are in the school. But not only that, but we also encourage reading amongst the students who are believers. One of the things that truly helped me when I was a student like you is the person who taught me how to read Christian literature for myself. That person truly helped me, because the discipline of reading has contributed greatly to my growth as a believer. And that's one of the things we also desired to inject into the ministry of Timazi. So Timazi, for the last 7 years, has run a reading program called the Readership Challenge. I'm not so sure whether you have heard the slogan that we have. It is bad manners to have more clothes than books. Have you heard that? Maybe you need to tell your friend. It is bad manners to have more clothes than books. When you count your own blouses and trousers and discover that they are more than the books you own, the ones you've bought with your own money. And today I'm not talking about that, but the day before yesterday, as a family, we were watching the movie of the biography of Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, and his mother was working as a house girl. And one of these days, she goes and visits this wealthy man. He was working for him. And in that house, that man had a big library. And she asked him, have you read all these books? And he said, I've read most of them. Then when she went back home, Ben Carson had a brother. And the mother found them, the two of them, watching TV, okay, with a bro, because they would run home. Immediately they arrive, they watch TV. So the mother told them, wait, we are the poor people. You don't need to spend time here just watching this TV. You better read the books and other people will watch you on TV. And I thought that was quite a remarkable thing. And in all my experience growing up, all the people who have made a serious impact on my life, one of the distinctive things they have is that they have a very serious culture of reading. You have heard that? And not just reading for academic requirement, but reading as a lifestyle for your own growth as a human being and your own growth as a Christian. So every year, Timazi chooses a book, and we get that book cheaply at only 300 shillings so that every student in this country can afford the book. You buy the book with your own pocket money, and then we give you opportunity to do a book report. Having read that book, you submit that book to the rest of, in your own school, to your CU patron. Then your CU patron will choose the 5 best book reports that then get to participate in a national competition. And then we choose a day when we are going to award the best book reports from across the country. So the last time we did this before COVID, we had 137 schools participating. And I think that's the year Nakuru girls were the winners, were the national champions for that particular year. And so we are looking forward to seeing you in the next readership challenge. Not leadership, readership challenge. Okay? Awesome. So I want us to get into our topic of the day, and we are going to talk about digital entertainment and the Christian student. Digital entertainment and the Christian student. Digital entertainment and the Christian student. Let's pray again as we proceed. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you this morning. We thank you for your mercy, for your kindness, for your grace. We thank you for the opportunity to meet in this school, oh God. We commit ourselves to you, our Father. We pray that as we reflect on what will it mean for us to live faithfully as Christians in this time and generation, that our King and our God, you will bring your word forth with clarity, and our hearts will find light and illumination in the things that you want us to understand, to know, and to apply in our own lives. And therefore I pray, our Father, that you will help me, O God, even as I speak about this. And I pray that the students, Lord, as they listen attentively, you will point them to yourself, that your name will be glorified, your church here will be edified, and your kingdom will advance. For we pray this in Jesus' holy name. Amen. Amen. I want to begin by making this statement as we think about digital entertainment. A number of things have changed in the last 5 years. One of the things that has greatly changed is that we who are born in this country, we have experienced a very high exponential growth of availability and accessibility of mobile phones in this country. In fact, according to the latest statistics, we are at 105% of mobile phones. Now, we have more mobile phones than we have people in this country. So most people own 2 phones, or rather the kind number of smartphones that have been bought over time. But not only that, we have also had a very serious growth in the accessibility of internet in this country. A few years back, it would have been possible, like when I was in school, to talk about being in the rural area and being in the urban area. When I was in school, we used to admire those boys who came from Jericho and those guys who came from East Landos, because they are the ones who knew all the latest stuff. And so after we come back from midterm, we used to wait for them so that now we would understand, and get to know what is the latest. That is no longer the case. As long as you have internet access anywhere on the borders of this country, you will have access to the same content that someone right in the CBD of Nairobi, our capital city, has access to. Now, what has that done? That has actually brought an explosion of the amount of content that you and I receive on a daily basis. And what does that mean for us? What that means for us is this. Another factor is this, is that majority of us, when we go online, we don't go online for academic purposes. Majority of us, when we go online for entertainment. Either you are chatting with a friend, or you're watching some music on your music video, or you're watching a movie. When you have the highest percentage of the population going online to access any content that you have for entertainment purposes, it now behooves on us to start wondering and thinking harder, what does it mean for us to be spending so much time being entertained? We are being entertained probably more than we are working. Did you know that? I mean, think about it. As you're coming to school in the morning, those who are the scholars, there's music in the car, isn't it? There's already video playing. When you get at home, most of you, the first thing you do is to turn on the radio or turn on the TV. The first thing you think about when the weekend comes in, I want to watch a movie, I want to watch a series. When you look at the amount of time we are spending being entertained is now flipping over the time we are spending working and thinking harder as human beings. That change, we need to think about it and how it is affecting us, particularly for you who are teenagers and in your high school and at the prime of your life. One of the books I'm going to recommend to you is called Shallows. There's a book called Shallows, written by a gentleman known as Nicholas Carr, C-A-R-R, Nicholas Carr. And in that book, Nicholas makes a case and says this, that the human beings of the digital age, one of the greatest challenges that you and I are going to have is the fact that now we are not spending as much enough time thinking critically with our minds. We are spending too much time being entertained. Let me build a case for that for you to understand. Ted Tanau says this. He's written a book called The Pop Culture. Entertainment, for example, is typically thought of as something you seek when you don't want to think too hard, isn't it? You don't watch a movie when you're serious. You don't kind of turn on to dance on music when your mind is serious. It is when you feel bored that you turn on your Facebook, isn't it? It means, therefore, that your point of interaction with digital media is at the point when you don't want to think. Like you've done all the thinking in school, when you're so bored and tired and you want now just to lay down and be entertained, is the time you want to stop thinking. If you get my argument, isn't it? So the time you want to stop thinking is the time that most of us pick up on digital entertainment. That's the time you put on a movie or you pick up your phone and start carelessly scrolling on Instagram or TikTok because you're tired and you just don't want to think very hard. You want to do something leisurely, isn't it? Now, he says this, But when popular culture entertains, it invites a response that borders on worship. He says, there is therefore, in a sense, the more something is entertaining, the more religious it becomes. And the higher commitment it is asking of you, and it is asking of you at that higher commitment when you are not at a position of thinking. Because when you get into class and a teacher stands in front of you, you are aware that now you're getting into a physics class. And therefore you need to be attentive and be awake so that you can concentrate. But when you're sitting down on your couch at home to watch a soap opera, it is a time when you don't want to think. Now, that combination is actually the most dangerous for your generation. Let me explain to you why. Because a gentleman known as George Carlin, who is himself, I think, a movie producer, he says this, that once you get people laughing, they are listening. And once people are listening, you can tell them almost anything because they are not also thinking. When you're laughing, when a comedy is happening, you laugh. Every time you're laughing, always remember you're not thinking. Okay? Whenever you're laughing, you're not thinking. You are enjoying what you're listening. You're not thinking about what you're listening. If you ever want to know the time you are thinking about what you're listening, you always keep quiet. Because when you hear something that you think, what has that guy said? You keep quiet, isn't it? When you're not thinking attentively, you laugh. Now, he says this, therefore, the best time to teach a people anything without allowing them to think about it is you mix comedy and laughter with it. As long as what you're teaching come together with the laughter and kind of a funniness, the people who are listening to you are not thinking, and therefore they will pick what you're saying without engaging their minds. Now, that's how powerful entertainment therefore becomes. And that's my point. Entertainment becomes powerful because it influences you unknowingly because you are in a mode of not thinking. We say that we sit down to be entertained and we say we are being amused. The English word is being amused, isn't it? When you say you want to go to an amusement park, isn't it? Do you know what is to amuse? To amuse is the opposite of the word muse. To muse is to think about something deeply. So to amuse is to stop thinking about something deeply. That is why we say, I am going for an amusement park. An amusement park is something that is the opposite of deep thinking. I hope I'm not leaving anyone behind. So what am I saying? I'm saying this, that when you're listening to the gengetones are coming to you when you're laughing and dancing and you're not thinking about what that guy is saying. Mnasikiza? As the guy is mixing his lyrics and making you laugh, and then he does something sexually seductive, and then in the process you're not thinking because you're being entertained, the guy is slowly coaching you and selling you a philosophy silently as you are laughing. And therefore, the most powerful people on our time are actually the people at the seat of where our current generation is being entertained. So if there's anything I can tell you, which is the most difficult thing, is to put on your thinking cap, to make sure that you remember that entertainment is not just entertainment. Please tell that to your friend. Entertainment is not just entertainment. You see, when you're being entertained, everything we consume on TV, everything we consume on our social media, Everything you consume on all the different apps you're going to access on the smartphone. I want to let you know, my dear younger, you're now my sons. I used to say my younger brothers, but now you're my sons because my son is already now 13. I want to let you know this, that when you think about TikTok, for you it is entertainment. But can I tell you something? TikTok is a business company that has full-time employees who went to school to study psychology, software engineering, they are accountants. It is a serious enterprise. And everything you experience on TikTok is intelligently designed to capture your attention by serious people who go to work at TikTok. TikTok is not managed by teenagers. It is managed by guys who have specs, guys who look serious. Even if you saw the guys who manage TikTok, you would be shocked at how serious they are. They sit in board meetings to think. Everything that you see is curated. There is nothing that happens on the entertainment that you watch and experience, whether by the smartphone or the TV, that is carelessly produced. Every word, every act, every design is well thought through. And it works seamlessly. One of the gentlemen, and I'm so sorry that you can't see everything that is on my screen, I had brought the image of the gentleman who actually made Facebook to become as wealthy as it is. Because Facebook was not the first social media app. Which was the first social media app? Who knows? What was it called? Facebook was not the first. Way before Facebook, there was something that was called Friendster. And it was not able to thrive because they couldn't crack the business side of it. You see, for every social media app, for everything that you enjoy, whether it is YouTube videos and all those kind of things, all those things must have a business model for them to survive in the market. They don't survive in the market because they are enjoyable. They survive in the market because they know how to monetize, how to make money out of the software they have already developed. So let me give you an example. There's a gentleman called Engineer Rostenstein, and he's the one who created the like button for Facebook. And they had sat for many hours, if not months, trying to wonder how it's going to make money for them. And who knows why Facebook does not have a dislike button? Facebook doesn't have a dislike button. Why? So you have a like button and a dislike button. Facebook doesn't have a dislike button. Why? Put on your thinking caps. I told you think. We first must not think like people being entertained, okay? You now need to sit on this other side and understand how the people who make the content that you consume think, so that you are not using it carelessly on the other side without understanding. The way Facebook made money is collecting the interests of different people and then creating algorithms, meaning a whole set of where you go, what you buy, where you live, how old are you. Facebook has all that data about you. And they could never have collected that data. Instead of asking you what you don't like, they collected everything that you like. So whenever you like any photo or any message or anything on Facebook, they are every day collecting that data about you. So Facebook knows you more than you think if you already have an account with them. And they have applied that across all their different apps, whether it is Instagram, and they use that data to now sell advertising space. So that the adverts I see on my Facebook account is not the adverts you will see on your Facebook account. Because my adverts that I see are dependent on all the places and all the things I have ever liked. They pick that data and use a certain coding to bring me the kind of adverts, and those companies now pay them to direct their adverts directly to the consumer, depending on everything that you like. You know, every day they are collecting everything you like. If you're on Facebook, you know that they remind you even a picture you took 10 years ago. True? You remember they pop to you and tell you, remember this, you did this 3 years ago. Everything you do on Facebook is on record. And it will be on record, and they have been keeping on piling up your data for many, many months. And you should never forget that. So when you think about it as a business, you stop thinking it not just as being entertained. You now start understanding that whatever I'm experiencing is, if I am not paying for it. In fact, there's a gentleman who says this: if you are not paying for it, you are the product being sold. And you are the product being sold because it is your information that is being collected and sold to the other companies who want to make advertisement. I want to let you know this, that there are full-time employees working to bring you to be more entertained and to stay there. In fact, they have created such a compelling software and psychology, because they also employ psychologists in those companies. That's why Facebook, if you want to really read, please go online and read why we don't scroll sideways, we scroll up and down. Do you know why we scroll up and down and not sideways? It is that design. It is a study of the human brain on how you are able to follow something. That's why it doesn't go left to right or up or down. There's a way it goes from up to down. Everything you do online is well curated by a very intelligent employee that is employed by one of these companies. And therefore it hurts me when I see teenagers consuming content carelessly. And even when you think about even the radio talk shows that you experience every day, when you hear someone tell you, mwenzangu nanisikiza kutoka wapi? Mimi niko hapa Kakamega nataka kutuma salamu, he's not interested in your salamu. What the radio presenter is doing, he's taking a roll call. Because for him to be on radio, he needs to get advertisements to pay for that airtime. Because they pay for that airtime to the government through the communications authority. So how they pay their bills is through advertisement. Now, so that you get enough advertisement, you need to prove that your show is being watched and listened to by different people in different parts of the country. So the first thing a radio presenter asks you is, where are you listening from? What they are doing is that they are taking roll call for that day. Then, because it is not possible to call everybody, they need to take a roll call through SMS. So they will ask you a stupid question. How many colors does the Kenyan flag have? I'm giving away 5,000 shillings if you are able to tell me how many colors the Kenyan flag is. Mwenzangu naambia flag ya Kenya iko na kala ngapi? Leo napatiana 5,000. You think they can spend that money that they do not know how many colors of the flag there is? What they are doing, they are asking you to text them. So they are going to be texted by about 10,000 people, and they are only going to spend 5,000 shillings to do that exercise. So you need to think like a businessman. And you, on the other hand, you're just using your data, calling, waiting to win that 5,000. You can't win that 5,000. That 5,000 is doing roll call. Getting to know who are listening to the radio, and they are listening that radio from which county. Now, when they get all that information, knowing there are 50 teenagers in Kajiado, there are 50 teenagers in Nakuru, then we need to start knowing that this is where our listeners are. So we go to the people in the businesses in Nakuru and tell them to advertise on our station, because most of the listeners come from Nakuru. That's how the business works. And you and I need to wake up and think about the business. But let me give you a few things for you to think about. While all these businessmen are working tirelessly, one of the saddest things is this: a number of them are not Christians. And because they are not Christians, they will use anything, and I mean anything, to sell their products and their programs. And this is my subject of address to you. When you turn to the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, Ephesians chapter 2. I've told you that media is a business. And the businesses on media, what they use is that they use the psychology and the natural desires of majority of people to sell their products. Now, listen to this. As for you, now Paul is writing to the Ephesians who had now become followers of Jesus. And now he is telling them where they used to be a while back. He says this: as for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world, and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, and the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. Listen to verse number 3. All of us, without exception. How many? All of us. All of us, verse 3, all of us also lived among them like this at one time. What were we doing? Gratifying the cravings of our flesh, number 1. Number 2, following its desires. Number 3, and thoughts. Like the rest of humanity, we were by nature deserving of wrath. But God, because of his great love for us, he made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead in our transgressions, it is by grace that we have been saved. Paul is saying this, and I'm applying it right now, is that the businessmen in the media industry know that all human beings, unless you have been delivered by Jesus, unless you have been made alive by Christ, all human beings live following the ways of this world. All human beings live by following the ways of this world. And I'm going to explain that as we move on. And we follow the ways of this world, and we also follow the ruler of the kingdom of the air. So we are not born neutral. You don't grow up neutral saying, at one point I'll either choose to follow Satan or to follow Jesus. No. We all are born in the kingdom of Satan. Did you know that? We don't have to grow up and make a choice whether to follow Satan or Jesus. We all are born in his kingdom because he is the king of the kingdom of the air and the prince and the spirit who is at work in the sons of disobedience. The sons of disobedience, and I'm going to explain this to us, is the sons of disobedience are those who are living like Satan, resisting God and his righteous rule over the earth. So this is what he says. All of us lived among them at one time, What were we doing? We were gratifying the cravings of the flesh. What are the cravings of the flesh? The flesh, this body that we have, okay? You see this flesh and blood? It has certain cravings. What does it crave for? Number one, food, isn't it? Food is very powerful. If I put crates of bread out there, you would know how powerful food is. And I said those crates of bread are free for whoever can run there first. Some people would leave me here talking to myself. Why? Because food is powerful. Why? Because it satisfies the cravings of this flesh. What else? Comfort. Number two is comfort. We all want it easy, isn't it? That's the cravings of our flesh. Who wants to wake up early? Nobody. You want to sleep longer, isn't it? You really have to work hard to wake up in the morning. I did. I struggle to wake up in the morning. Why? Because this body wants more comfort. It doesn't want hardship, isn't it? My body wants easy things. If some of you were asked how you would like your day to look like, you would say, in this school, we need to actually be waking up at the time that we want, okay? And then we want some aircon in our dormitories. Then we want to have some TV screen at the end so that I can watch the different DSTV football programs I would like. And then we would like to have some people who serve in our dormitories so that in the morning they come with a paper and they tell me, how are you, George? Good morning. Today is Thursday. You have 4 lessons. And I wanted to confirm with you which are the lessons you want to attend. Today we are serving you sausages and a bit of ndoma and fried eggs. How would you like your eggs done before you go to class? And would you like me to carry your breakfast to class, or would you like it to have it in the dorm? Okay? Some of you, that's the kind of life you would like to have, isn't it? Why? Because the flesh, you're even laughing, you're even feeling happy. And it is only just an imagination. You're already feeling happy. It is because the body craves to be comfortable, isn't it? Our body craves to be comfortable. So the things that bring us comfort work against our walking with God. Because those are the ways, the cravings of the flesh are powerful. The third craving of the flesh is sex. Sex is the most powerful of the three. It is so powerful and empowering that we fantasize about it all day long. Some of you are probably thinking about it even as I'm speaking. It is extremely powerful. The cravings for sexual encounters is extremely powerful. So Paul says this: following these desires and these thoughts, that's how we lived. And we lived like that hopelessly. So the people who are constantly every day thinking about their comfort, thinking about what to eat, and the time that will ever have their first sexual encounter, you are slaves. You become a slave. But because the media knows and understands that, therefore, they use the same kind of thing to bring you their content. When I was preparing for this session, I tried even to listen to the kind of music that you guys love. I couldn't last for 10 seconds. And I was like, my goodness, how does someone watch such a gengeton video? How do you even last your eyes on it for more than 10 seconds without going blind? And without the heart becoming darkened in a way that you lose it as a human being. And in my own opinion, one of the greatest dangers that now you and I are confronted with is how then do we respond? How then do we find victory over all this different sexual content around us that has infiltrated almost everything that you want to watch and anything you want to listen to? When I think about the amount of content that is sexual that is online, my heart breaks. Because as we speak right now, I think 1 in 5 searches online is for pornographic content. And I fear for all of you, because I feel in my heart that the prince of the power of the air, the king of the kingdom, who reigns and rules this world by the cravings of the flesh and the cravings of your desires and your thoughts, holds you captive to the extent that it is now no longer entertaining, it is now slavery. What was once feeling as if it was entertainment, it now starts to lose its entertainment value and now starts sliding towards slavery of the human soul. And whatever it is promising, it does not deliver, unfortunately. It doesn't deliver what it promises. But as my sons and daughters, let me give you an analogy. You see all these gadgets we're using this morning, they are very helpful to us. You're listening to me because of electricity. We're able to look at this camera and the lights and the speakers because of electricity. But do you know what? Before you can use electricity meaningfully, you must, at the first thing, insulate everything that has wires with electricity. All these things have steamer, all of these ones you're seeing. And this electricity is the same one that can kill you instantly if you touched it. So the first thing you do for you to use electricity is to first insulate it. You first make your own safety before you can actually interact with it. And the electricity will not kill you because it hates you. It will kill you because it is powerful. And electricity is powerful because of the voltage. The internet content, has messaging, has images that stick in your mind. It's not like electricity. Internet is way more powerful than your electricity because it carries in itself messaging and images. Because of its potent danger, it is my plea that every young person, therefore, needs to first insulate their hearts in a way that when I'm interacting with it, I am safe. But the first safety we find is here where we have read in the book of in the book of Ephesians, chapter number 2, and asking ourselves, how would it be that I can, as a young person, I become then able to overcome my own desires and cravings so that I can bring all those cravings under my own command. And I want to let you know, there is no one else who has power over the prince of the power of the air. Because you need to understand that whole dynamic, that all the cravings are being directed by he who controls, and he uses the cravings of the human flesh. And therefore, for you to overcome your own cravings and bring them into subjection so that they can become your slaves, and therefore so that your body can be used as an instrument of righteousness, you must first bring your body under a certain way to control your own desires of your stomach, your own desires of comfort, and on your own desires of your sexual desires. How do you bring that into self-control so that then you can live free and be insulated, so to say, therefore you can engage in the content that is available for you and I in the internet? And I do not know of any other way. It is only God who is rich in mercy, verse number 4, who has made us alive with Christ. Otherwise, we were dead in our transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. And it is by grace everyone who cries to the Lord is saved. It is by that grace that now you are made alive. And when you are made alive, you are delivered from the kingdom of darkness. Once you're delivered from the kingdom of darkness, then you have the capacity to say no. It is that grace that now gives you ability to say no and to turn away from that which would destroy you as a person. I want to bring a close the first session because you're going to come back again. And I want to pray for us because you and I are going to live in this internet age for a long period of time. And I do not want you to be careless about that which you consume as entertainment. And I want you to be awakened this morning that what will make a difference in your generation is actually the younger people. Purity will be the currency of those who will indeed flourish in your generation. Did you know that? Those who will have the ability, because of the overbearing of internet pornography, the Western nations are going through a whole age of depression. And maybe when I come back, we can talk about it a little bit more. The dangers of internet pornography are crazy. In the US, in Europe, people used to laugh about it. People used to think it is a sin like any other. No, it is not. It is now not just affecting them sexually. It has started affecting them mentally. And we're going to look at that in the book of Romans. How does your own sexual perversion affect your mind and your thinking? And they are related. Depression and mental health is related to exposure to pornography. And most of you probably have not even thought about that deeply. And we're going to discuss about that when we come back. But for those who must go for your chemistry practicals, even with that little that you have heard this morning, I pray that you will no longer consume your own digital content as simply entertainment. That you will be awakened to understand that media is a business. And everything I consume online or on TV is being produced by a whole set of professionals, psychologists, engineers, artists, advertisers, who work full-time to get your attention. And that they use the human selfish cravings of the flesh to manipulate me to be hooked to their products. I remember one gentleman who gave his testimony Because Engineer Rostenstein, they did this documentary and it's now available on Netflix. He's one of the guys who speaks. How many of you have watched the social documentary? It's called the social dilemma. How many of you have watched the social dilemma on Netflix? Good. Engineer Rostenstein, it got to them, they said, we've created a monster. We have worked so hard to actually make people form habits around our products that now we are killing humanity as we know it, and we regret making those things the way they are. In fact, the guy who made the like button removed Facebook from his smartphone because he knew how they had created it and how powerful it was. All the guys who work in the Silicon Valley, and you will watch, if you watch that documentary, they don't allow their children to use social media until they are adults. Did you know that? The chief executives who make all the most of the techie things that you use every day, because they know how powerful habit-forming practices they have inculcated in developing those products, they don't allow their own children to use it because they know how powerful it is. It is addictive. And some of you, part of why you're struggling in class, part of why you really cannot concentrate is because now what you thought was entertaining has become an addiction. The shame that comes with consuming content that is sexually immoral on an everyday basis is tormenting you privately. Your self-esteem is affected. Your heart has become darkened. You're not now able to relate to the opposite gender with respect. Because you cannot spend your time online watching naked images of the opposite gender and at the same time think you can have a healthy relationship with the opposite gender after you've been watching their naked images the previous night. You become totally incapacitated to have a healthy relationship. It destroys you completely. And this morning is a wake-up call for you. And I think God is pleading for your life and asking you that there's no other hope that we have as a generation apart from Christ, who is able to overcome the prince of the power of the air, who controls and who has sway on the cravings of the flesh and of the human heart.